Okay, so one of the things that's that I have up here is this is my notan that goes with the painting that I'm doing, and it's actually I'm not sure what size. I'm doing a little one in an 8 by 12 just because I want to fool around with something else. And here's a tip. If you have a painting you really want to try or one that you've done you really like, why not do it again, but do something different with it? So, ideally what I'd like to do is do one that's on a textured surface and do one that's not on a textured surface. I've been looking at this photo. This is actually a combination of two photographs put together. And I'm taking out part of this section right in here and I'm kind of condensing it so it's not really as long. It's not going to be a traditional 9 by 12 standard size. It's going to wind up being an 8 by 12. So it gives you a little bit of that width to navigate your left to right movement, and it closes it down a little bit. Want that feeling of being in this, little cubby corner of an outside cafe. And my design takes out this whole here. The chairs are, unnecessary for the painting altogether. So I've taken them out because the interest really lies over here. So, what happened next was, I've taken my sketchbook, my dark and light China wax markers, and I did a value sketch. Then I went over it to make a notan. And that's when I decided that I really was not crazy about the very elongated section. I really wanted to close up this area here, which this one shows. I've taken out a larger bulk of this section. And just as a hint, when you have big expanses like this, and just this big swath of dark in the center just was not working. What's happening in the center here that I can get rid of? I can get rid of the trees. That takes care of it. I can condense this section up a little bit here. So I just kind of redesign this little interior. So I have really captured the essence of it. But if anyone was going to look at the scene, they may say, "Oh, geez, it's really, you're missing this and you're missing that." But I'm not really worried about that. It's down in St. Augustine, Florida. So I don't think that's going to make any difference. And the idea is for a painting. So I liked this area far better when it was not as wide. So that changing it to a 8 by 12 really helped. I think prior to that, it was a little longer. So it was probably something that was more like an 8 by 14. So you can see that extra 2 inches in the middle really kind of expanded that. And the idea really of I could have brought more light in on this side, but what I really was attracted to was the fact that we had these pockets of light that were kind of coming out and creating what I call like this little cozy corner that was in this section of this outdoors. So based on this, I have my idea of my values. So I know I have my dark values and my light values that I'm going to work with. This gives me a really good picture of where my light shapes are going to dance around the outside and a little bit more of a resting spot in the center where there's not a lot of activity happening. So I've kind of created this sort of design where it's very circular in this sense that it'll just kind of move around and then the angles will hopefully bring you into this area right here, which is going to wind up being the focal point as such. I never really worry about having more than one focal point, but I do usually have something in mind where I think is more important than other spots. So I wanted you to see that. Um, so in choosing the palette, what I have is, I'm not going to be using all of these in this, but I laid out a proportional size little sketches. And this is 3.5 by 5.25. And that winds up being proportional to the 8 by 12, the 12 by 18, the 16 by 24, and the 20 by 30. And I left this over here, but I know some of you have seen my proportion wheel before. And it's really handy, especially when you are redesigning a photograph where you're cropping and you're changing things, because then you lose that standard size that you print off on a sheet of 8 by 10 paper. All of a sudden you wind up with, like funky sizes. And how are you going to make that fit into, a reasonable size, either board or paper or whatever? So all I needed to do was, I'll move this up so you can see, 3.5 right here. And I line that up with 5.25 right there, top, bottom. It rotates around. And then that tells me all the sizes that it's compatible with. This proportion wheel, 8 by 12. The next one for me would have been your 12 by 18. They start going a little bit askew up in here, but still, there's a 18 by 26. That's a reasonable size, and a 20 by 30 if I decide to go really big. So we'll see how much, see how much I like this in the end. I'm starting with a little small one. So when talking about colors, I already know where my patterns of light and dark will be, and within that are going to be middle darks and middle lights. It's going to be a variety of values, but they're going to be broken up into those two areas for me to see. So I do not take out the color wheel and look at it for every single painting that I do. But for teaching purposes, it's really handy to explain what it is that's going through my mind, because if you've used a color wheel enough times, you wind up having a pretty good natural inclination for where the different color harmonies are. So the two different kinds that are out there is your traditional triad color wheel and your analogous color wheel, and they are slightly different. So what happens is the colors are similar but not necessarily the same with the analogous to this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explain the analogous color wheel, because it's really based on colors that are analogous sitting next to each other on the color wheel. So I know my one dominant hue is going to be this reddish orange. And I know that because I've already toned the paper, and I plan to have that show through or at least be part of the painting. So my dominant hue is going to be right in here with my red orange. So my adjacent colors or my analogous colors are the ones on either side. These are all totally compatible with that. Absolutely. No matter what you do, if you choose colors that are next to or near on either side of your color, or even extending down to one side, they're considered analogous. They will definitely go together. We all know the complementary color, and it's always slightly different with the analogous color wheel. And oh my gosh, I haven't used it in so long, I can't remember what's exactly the difference between it. But this here I have as my complementary, and it winds up being a bluish green. The discords on either side give me colors that are, and you notice the size here, bigger, smaller, and even smaller than this. So these colors here, discord, it's a color that supports the main palette. So I have a yellow green and I have a blue violet. So that's the way this one would be set up. It's a really nice, if you're ever interested in looking for it, just all you have to do is Google analogous color wheel, and it is actually artvideo.com. I've had this for a very long time. This one is copyrighted in 2011, so I'm not actually sure. I'm sure it's still on the market, but I don't know where it's sold. And it's got good information on the back. And this is the triad color wheel. And you can see that it is based upon the 6 major colors The Munsell color wheel has 4, and orange is not actually one of the main colors on the Munsell color. Let me tip it. This shine is doing it. You can see orange is totally eliminated from this, and here it exists. The reason why, I'm really sorry, I do not remember that. I should have checked that before I started yakking away. Great color wheel. This is the one more people are familiar with, so I was going to just refer to this. Like I said, the color patterns, don't use these as formulas. If you want to stretch it to either side or you want to be creative, go that direction. It's good as a base though. So this one here, this moves. Orange red is my main color as opposed to red orange. That's my pure color. Okay, right here. Right here we have your triad color harmony. And that shows me that blue violet, same as the other one, yellow green, same as the other one's the same. My opposite color is blue green. So with the orange as my base, the Munsell color wheel actually does wind up being the same because I started with an orange. That's interesting. I didn't realize that either. So there's something to think about. This color wheel also, besides showing your triad, of course, when you move it around, the colors change, but that equilateral triangle in the middle always points to the colors that are the basis for that triad color harmony. Your opposites, your complementary harmony, and then you have a split complementary, and that's when you come down the center, there's your complementary, and then you go to the colors on either side and you use them. This color wheel has on one side your tints and the other side, this is your tints and this is your shades. Colors that have more light or white in them and colors that have more dark. Whether or not there's black in them, I don't know. I prefer to think of things in terms of it has dark in it, it has light in it. What's handy is they give you a little explanation on the side there. So mine just, I've just explained as I'm doing my red orange. I've got blue violet, yellow green, and I've got like a little bit of my blue green at the bottom. So tip, save your takeout containers. Okay, save the lids too. You know, you can keep them in it with the lids, but a lot of times I use the lids as little palette trays. So I've already gone through and I have my pastels in the boxes, and of course they're dirty because Betsy didn't clean them. So anyway, we'll take out the Swiffer as we're going along. So let me move this over here so you can see this. I have the black paper up just in case I decided that I wanted to do this on dark, because and you've seen in past ones, your color of paper that you use is going to directly affect the pastels. So the pastels on white are going to look very different than are on black. Here's another tip. When I'm just doing some of these, I just use construction paper. So these are both pieces of construction paper. Just get a pad. And they actually had a whole pad of just black construction paper. I mean, it's not good for painting. They're good for color studies. And, you know, if I want to expand that at all and make a more detailed color study, I would I would definitely pull out my hands-on, because that's what I liked using for my actual color studies that are a little bit more involved. But I'm just playing around. Construction paper works out well. It has just enough of a tooth to hang on to your pastel. A lot of times a sheet of copy paper, it can be too smooth, so you wind up with dust falling all over the place. But it won't be as bad. So I'm just going to quickly just don't worry quite as much. What I really liked was just the slanting that was going on. This does not have to be perfect. It's just a little color, but I'm just going to make sure that I have just a basic, and that was coming down, and then I have some here. I have a basic shape. And so I've taken this, I've just transported it over here, more or less. And right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up some colors. So you can actually see the colors that I've planned. When you're doing vivid colors, what makes a color vivid? A color is vivid, one, by just the nature of and this guy's really vivid. Okay, that's just vivid all on its own. Okay, hopefully the vividness is showing through on the video. Let me pull out another one. This is, oh, that's the wrong color. We're not going to be using that one. I have this lovely yellow green. Again, very vivid. And now it's a color that you'd really use in small quantities or select quantities, or as I'm going to do, is I want there to be a lot of vivid color. But if I have the whole thing vivid, everything is, where's my blues? There they are. If I do the whole thing vivid, nothing is going to feel selectively vivid on its own. So if I partner vivid colors with colors that are more muted, have less chroma in them, it gives an opportunity for those vivid colors to really shine. So bear that in mind. It's all in the proportions of colors that you use. And there was an analogy, it had to do with values, but it's all the same for your value, for your temperature, and for your intensity. And the intensity is where we get vivid to dull, temperature warm to cool, and value light to dark. Is if you're in a room and there's a lot of candles all over the place and you're seeing all these individual lights and it's beautiful, but all those individual lights are interacting with one another and not necessarily showing you the true brilliance of each of those candle lights in terms of value. If you are in a dark room and you have one candle, you see the brightness, the light that is coming from that one candle far differently than when it's surrounded by a lot of other candles. So if you take that analogy and you apply, I wish I remembered where I heard that. I just love the analogy though. So if you take that idea and you think of, I want this to feel like a vivid painting, and everything that's in it is vivid, you're not actually giving any one or few colors an opportunity to really sing in their own vivid nature. So what I'm trying to do is set it up so I have vivid colors partnered with colors that are muted. And we're going to see what happens when we put, and this better work, we're going to put colors together so that we can see. Oh, let me get my last little bright blue violet up here. This might be more blue than violet, but I'm gonna put that right there. Well, it's got a little blue violet to it. Okay, darker a color goes, it's still vivid, okay? But there's a difference, with that, the amount of light in terms of value you have with your warmer colors compared to your cooler colors. Okay, so let's see. If I take and I put my blue, let's start with the blue. I'm going to go down here with my blue. I'm going to put another blue over here. Two blues. I'll do a warm one right here. And if I surround that with another blue, and here, this is I love this color. Okay, here we go. See, this is not actually part of that color wheel, but it still fits. I love this lovely, cool blue that's got some warm in it, this lovely aqua. So if I take this blue and I surround it. Let me fill this in. When you use, some of these cheaper papers, the tooth's not the same. Sometimes you have to go in and just fill in the little holes. Okay, so I now have this blue that's surrounded by another blue, two beautiful colors, two quite vivid, but neither one of them is actually jumping out. So I'm now going to take and I'm going to surround this one by a blue that's pretty muted. And I'm just going to test it on the side. And there's that one. Let's see which one I want to use. Okay, that one's a little too dark. I don't want to use that one. I'm going to put that back. It also feels like it's got too green. So I take this and I put this. I have a value shift that's happening, but this blue is very muted, which means this blue here. Now look at how more brilliant this blue feels here than it does here. Here, these guys, they're working really well together. I'm not saying I wouldn't use them together, but I just want to show you what happens, if I'm trying to isolate a color and make this really feel like it is, singing out there on its own, surrounded by a blue that is duller. And this is just one that, it's muted because it has a lot of a light mixture in it. Let's try one with the warms. Okay, and let's see. Let me do it with this green. So I'm dying to try this green here. Okay, we'll put the green here. I have this green in a painting and I absolutely love it. I'll show you how I did that. Okay, both very, very bright. It really is taking a very yellow feel. Camera might be picking it up more as yellow, but it really is a yellow green. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get something that's similar in value. I don't want to. This one's a little bit too dark, so let's try one that's not quite so dark. A green. Try this guy. See, it's so light that it's just not such a light color. Oh, maybe that wasn't the greatest idea that I had there. Hang on, just give me just a second. I'm going to surround it by a different. I'm not going to try to get and surrounding this one by a different version of a yellow green. Just happens to be a little bit darker. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in. It's trying not to get a value difference. Oh, let me try to, I'm going to surround it by just I'm going to surround it by a yellow. Maybe that would have been a better start than what I did. Okay. It's trying to get this one. There's a little bit more of a value difference. Same thing that happened here, but I did use a darker muted color. Here it was a lighter. If we put these two guys together, we would see that one is definitely darker than the other. So with this green here surrounded by a very bright yellow, neither one of them are actually gaining any attention. This one here surrounded by this duller mustardy greeny yellow color, this one is jumping out. Values are also playing a part in this, but the point is that by taking and putting these very vivid colors next to colors that are muted, we wind up creating both a value in both these cases. It's a value and an intensity issue. Now, let's see what would happen if we took, here's an idea. I am going to, again, this one right here. We know that this is, so you put this down in your painting. It's like, oh, I love that. It's a really nice combination, these two guys. But I really wanted this to feel like it was a really bright green, and it's not working with that bright yellow around it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in And I'm going to see what happens if I take and I put, what would go well over that? My mind was going in one direction and it kind of got sidetracked. Let's see, well, let's see what happens with the orange around. I'm gonna put the orange over it. Oh, well, that now that this, the orange is still dominating it. Okay, that's still not, it hasn't brought that out any at all. Okay, but the orange looks lovely. I'm gonna try, so this is a warm color here, warm color. I had two warm colors on top of one another. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to come in with a cool color, and I'm gonna try the same cool color. Oops, my yellow fingers messed that up. I'm gonna come in with the same cool color that's right there. Just give me a moment because I've got a lot of pastel here. If you do this at home, make sure you're doing it straight up so all this pastel dust floats straight down. If you have an air purifier, turn it on, wear a mask. This one, same here, I'm gonna come around. I want this to stand out now. Oh, wow, now it's standing out. Okay, it didn't work with the warms around it, but it is working with a dull blue around it. So this one actually works better than that. Because this is standing out far more than that one. Okay, that was warm against cool, dull against vivid, slightly darker, lighter. Okay, this one darker, lighter. I want to make him come out, and I'm really determined to see if I can make that happen with a warm color. I had to get rid of my warm over here, so now I'm going in a different direction. Those two colors I tried had a level of intensity to them. They weren't like really super, well, I think the first one was super bright. So I'm gonna come in. This is a dull orange. Okay, so there's real orange, there's a dull. Dull oranges often start having that lovely brownish. If you're looking for a nice brown, go for oranges that are dull. Okay, this is also a value shift. So I'm gonna have now, okay, look what happened with that. That's really jumping out now. So this duller orange around it, that's a little bit darker, definitely made that guy pop up. He was a lot harder to pop up than I thought. That guy was really easy. He was a little trickier. Maybe it's because I just stuck with blues over here and over here I was doing color combinations, but do that sort of thing so that when you're playing with your colors, you know what is around it that's going to make it pop out. And again, like I said, when we had all these colors that way, if I'm going to try to do a little row up here, I'm going to pull some oranges here. I have a dull one right here. Wow. That guy's almost fluorescent, and I do have some fluorescent colors. I think they were, oh gosh, what were they? Were they Mount Vision? Oh, I wish I could remember. But you can buy fluorescent ones. It's a decent fluorescent. Let me move that over here. Let's see if this guy is the same one or slightly different. He's the same. Okay, this is an orange, and this one's gonna go slightly. Oh, look at that. Here, I would have thought, never go by the stick. It looked like it was gonna be lighter. It's darker. He's closer to that right there. Duller, brighter, duller. Starting to get a little change there. Let's put it next to that. Okay, look at how much more that pops out there, right there. This one hardly at all, and then we had that really strong. Okay, so I would be playing around with different color combinations and you know, kind of stuck with what the color wheel I was doing. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm just going to do a quick little one, just paying attention. I really, really, really want this light to shine in here. So I'm going to just get this in to start with, okay? It does not have to be as, when you're doing little color studies like this, do not try to get your design exactly accurate. I like coming in here and just playing around. There's light between these guys right there. There's light that's falling in here. And there's a lot of light that's falling behind this up in here. It got a little bit of light that's falling down in this area here. I'm gonna get this bright one on. A good way to start is get your, okay, that's a lot, okay? So in a circular pattern, I'm creating that. I'm gonna get a little bit of my darks in so I can see where these dark patterns are. And for the dark, I was planning on using that muted, you remember bluish green was one of the colors. So this reddish orange and this bluish green. So I'm gonna just come in over here. I'm dispensing totally with the colors that are in the painting because nothing in that painting was in that photo. There's actually a post right here. So just because I know it's there, I'm gonna stick it in here. And then there's this lovely shadow that's right through there. Shadows that are right here. And there's plants and things there, but I'm just gonna add that right in there. And I'm gonna put a little bit more here for the light. Okay, so my very vivid reddish orange next to my duller and slightly and definitely darker bluish green fit this right in here. So what am I going to do from here? I'm going to have to figure out how am I going to introduce other colors. And I am going to start with my darks. And there's a lot of greenery over on this side here. And I'm just going to test over here. I did already pick out, pre-select some colors that I thought might work. Give me a second. This feels like it's bubbling out on me. Okay, so I'm going to come out and I'm going to put the color here so you can see the, so this is a green and it's a pretty muted bluish green, but it's muted. And there's this bit of light that's falling in this area here. So I'm going to put that in here. I'm going to tone that down just a little bit. And this is where that, let's knocking that blue down just a bit. There's a plant that's over here. I don't want to put too much of it here, but I'm trying to put this where the wall and the floor is. So this is, these colors are making this jump out. Okay, so it's doing what I want it to do. The green plant, it's definitely a darker green. And I'm gonna stick with this bluish green. Yeah, I think this one might be too, that's way too greeny green. I need something that's a little bit more on the darker end. Okay, so when I'm picking out colors, I'm saying darker, cooler, duller. So I'm looking for something that's, oh yeah, dark, cool. Well, that's it right here. The, oh, that's okay. That's dumping out. That's good. Like that. I like that for the greens. And then there's different plants that are down here. Would not use this green down here. This is where greenery is up there. Down here, it is the tile floor. And you're and because you can't see the photograph, I just realized you guys are probably thinking, what on earth is she painting? What I'm gonna do, I don't really know if it makes much of a difference, to tell you the truth. I'm not gonna, sorry about that. I didn't think about that part since it's all very abstract. I've got a lot of really strong light that's behind some plants here. But I still want that to feel like it's really warm. But yeah, it's a little more subdued on this side. So I think I'm gonna test out and see. I'm gonna just dull this down just a touch in spots, just by dragging it over a few spots because there's lots of plants there. So I still have some in there, but not a lot. So now I'm kind of like shifting it. It's slowing down a little bit, not quite as intense, intense up here. And for the plants that are here, I can come in and I can have the intensity fall behind it. Same thing that happened over here with the intensity of those. But this one over here, because this is slightly under the pergola, it doesn't have the same kind of light as that had
That's
over
something.
here. Oh, sorry, did someone have a question?
What?
Sorry. Oh, okay. Okay, so dark, okay, so the dark worked out well. I'm gonna fade this out over here. It's really interesting with this photograph too is, although this area is dark, it kind of fades a little bit. And then there's it's gonna give like a little bit of an edge here. So I can see where that is just for. I'm holding this green and I'm thinking, is there any place else I would put this green? There are some green leaves that are catching the light right here, and they're catching the light right here. Okay, that may work. I think I need to make some of that a little bit lighter. And I think one of the ways that I can do that, which I started with a orange, is I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna pull up that yellow that I had out earlier. This is what I mean by don't get trapped into like pulling every single color out of your box. But have in mind, why are you pulling out a certain color? And I'm feeling as if the light that's coming, this is a shadow of the pergola. And this is the shadow this is the light and the shadow from the pergola. And this is the light and the plant and shadow from the palms that are on this side. I'm going to take a few of these and I'm going to bring in this yellow right here. That's pretty strong yellow. And I'm going to just glaze that in a few little, oops, wait a second. Oh, okay, that's a maybe. That is a maybe because it's really starting to knock down. Just a second, I'm just gonna try something here. I feel like it's kind of light. Is that too dark?
Think
You all
so.
right? Yeah. Okay, so now the light, so I'm just gonna, I really like that orange on top of there. I think I'm only gonna put this in areas where it's not right next to the green that's already there, because I feel like that is really knocking it down a little bit more than I wanted. Because remember, the idea is intensity. So I'm gonna fill that one in a little bit more. I'm gonna fill that in, and I think I'm just gonna have it over here in this section where it's already has the plants. And see, and I can put, it's almost taking on a green, it really is yellow, but it's taking on a green look on top of that right there. Now, they've got a lot of blue showing there. I want to tone that down. And, my choices, I had my blue violet that's here. So I'm just going to come in with my blue violet. And this one here, it's got chroma in it, but because it's darker, it's not as brilliant or vivid as the other ones, but it does definitely has a nice edge of a chroma to it. It's darker, it's cooler, and we can see that it has that it's muted because it's darker, but it does have a color, a chroma in it. Now, this violet's going to look really nice next to this in here. So I'm just going to drag that in very lightly just to play around with. That works a lot better than the other color that I had. It definitely works better. Okay, and then here, and this was right in here, just little mottled bits. And there's these lovely light tiles back here. I'm going to start with the tiles being a little bit darker because I want to exaggerate. And I'm going to just come down and put a little here. And I'm going to leave that post, that bluish green color, so it stays. I'm going to come back and have a look. Vivid. Now, this area here, if you remember, I said I changed it because I wanted the, where is it right here? I really wanted, I'm gonna get this back in here. I didn't color that in well enough. There's this lovely angle right here. So I'm just gonna fill that in. Thinking away, looking over here. Is there any place I'd put the yellow? I've already put the yellow in there. That's definitely looking vivid. I feel like I need to, this in here all fell in the dark zone, but it was really, it was nebulous. There was, it could have gone light just because it is a light tile. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one of my oranges. Okay, it's not as vivid as that. It's this guy right here. It's not red. It's an orangey red, and I'm gonna use that in here. I'm gonna bring up a little bit of the heat for the tile work that's all in here. And because that created next to these two guys, this still sang out as being vivid. Next to that, that'll work out fine. That centerpiece right there. This area in here feels like I want to bring in, let's double check this color that I didn't, okay, is that this one right there? Oh, we're back to that nice blue. I want to give a little bit of an edge in here. This area has to stay. It can't be as light. It's not. It can't be as bright. It's not. And it needs to be a little cooler, and it is. So I'm going to just drag this color in here for the tile work and the shadow that's on the tile work. So a little bit of that. I'm kind of like losing the shape, but that's okay. This is just fooling around. And I'm going to bring this color down in here. I need to step back and look. And before I go too far, I'm just going to come in and say, where is it? This paper, for just construction paper, this is holding a lot. I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to get that vivid color back up again. And I'm just going to very lightly, there's a very light scumble. It's just like this. Super, 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 super light. And I'm just going to change this in here. So I've just got a little bit of light. There's a little bit of light that's falling. It's that right in there. And I'll put a little down in here. Oh, yeah. Okay, and a little of that light there. So now I'd say, okay, have I created something that has a vivid punch to it? And that warmth of here, let me show you. Here, imagine no chairs. So what I was going for is warmth, warmth through here, warmth here, warmth behind it, warmth behind this, warmth behind that. Okay, cool. Okay, I've got used cool colors on top, cool violets, cool blues, bluish greens, nothing that was really green. I had, well, that's still light. These areas where it's light, oh, look at this lovely, boy, I missed that. Oh, I'm not putting this, hanging thing down. It, as much as I like it, I think it distracts. I can always put it in later if I feel like it. I'm just gonna come in. See the light, I'm just really trying to make that light feel like it's really on a nice angle there. Angle coming in, light from behind, and this is gonna take on, I use almost like terracotta colors with the dull orange on top. And I think I can still get away with a little bit of, boy, I'm coming back to this blue a lot. That's why this, what, I don't think I didn't even have this blue picked out in the first place. That one's worked out really well. Just gonna come in this area. See, like there's almost like a shadows, light on this area. And I'm just gonna use that. Now again, I'm doing cool, dull, next to warm, intense. And I'm gonna do a little bit of that on that side too, just to get that a little bit lighter right here. There's some nice color combinations there. Not that you can see what it actually is. The point is that you're able to, when you do these little things here, what is gonna happen before I get to the big painting, what color combinations are gonna work. And by trial and error, by playing with colors, and you notice I didn't wind up using this. This was just as an example. This one here, though, this got a nice little punch, this right here. It may work its way in somewhere. And the other color that may work its way in there, because there's this gorgeous red flower right here. Okay. I could exaggerate that flower. Okay, compositionally, that's right. That's almost like right smack in the middle. So compositionally, that is not good. But that color works well with that dull, cooler. There's some notes of warmth in there behind it. So that may actually work right in there. Now, just because we're going to wrap up, I'm just going to take some of those key colors I used, put them over here on black. There's that nice blue that I liked. Here's my yellow green. That's this one right here. This one was this one right here. The orange you all saw. Here's my yellow. There's my yellow right here. There's my yellow. Now imagine if I'd taken and I had done this on, this is that muted orange that I used. Right there. I did it on dark paper. Ooh, that would be fun. But these colors are going to look totally different on black than they are on white. So again, I would test it out and see how are these colors going to work. And here's my dark green right here. You know, you want to offset it with a couple of dark colors. And I had this nice violet that I pulled out, and I don't think I used, oh yes, I did. I scumbled it in here, didn't I? I think I scumbled a little of it. Okay, well, I'm gonna put the violet there because I like the violet in there. Ooh, the violet's really singing there. Okay, so key takeaways. Knowing you're gonna do something that you want it to really stand out as being a punch of light. Notan first. Identify where your darks, dark muted, dark middle, muted colors are going to be. Some notes of something that's a little bit more vivid would certainly work in there. Light areas, real punch. You want something that's going to really grab that, you know, vivid quality that you're looking for. Okay, and also be compatible with what you have in your darks, which is why we looked at the color wheel first. Areas that are muted that are in the light areas, there's a few of them where I just dragged a little bit of that yellow on top of the orange. It's surprisingly the yellow on top of the orange calmed it down. It did not excite it. So I would use that to tone down, not to increase the vivid nature. It didn't do the same thing. It probably, if it was all by itself, would do it. But it doesn't. Look at that. Could be the paper, could be what I'm trying to put it on. Okay, so this is going to set you up. This is going to give you an opportunity to test out how can I make those bright colors look bright. And you can make something look vivid and like it has a punch to it without having everything in the painting a hot hue. Okay, so questions? Anyone have any questions?
I thought it was really helpful to have you do this. I guess I don't think about the different colors and what they're going to do to each other. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? And a really good way of just getting used to what they do with other is just do silly stuff like, well, it's not really silly. It's just not, it's not intended to be anything that's finished. It's your practice. You're practicing using your colors. And by doing something like this,
Mhm.
or something with a, I mean, because I've got it going, I was using something that was a little bit more complex, but of a design, but take a simple design, a painting that you've done that you like, that's got a good composition to it, and play around with different color combinations for different sorts of moods or settings, or, you know, in this case, we're trying to really pump up the intensity. Um, and no, it is not going to look like the real scene, but as the label goes, you know, hot hues really can mean a variety of things. And if you're going for the heat of that day in Florida was it last year, 2 years ago, and it was like so hot, I thought I was going to die, you know? So I'm really trying to make it feel like it's really hot. In order to make it feel like it's really hot, I have to put some cools in there because hot next to cool is going to feel hotter. Okay, well, that's the way I see it. Somebody else may have a different idea.
It's nice to get it down to, like, just so you've limited your palette, so it makes you more portable with less pastels, and it just takes a lot of stress away with eliminating all the things you're not going to use.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is. And you know what? When I was doing a mentorship with Desmond O'Hagan, I haven't mentioned this in a while. One of the things that he did say, this is why I use these little trays, and he had them in terms of, having your lights that you're using in the palette, your middles and your darks. So you've got a clear idea of which are your dark values, which are your middle and your light. I was using it today in a different sense. I was doing it in terms of the color wheel.
Right.
So I had my red oranges in here, but I had them different values so that I could see the ones that clearly have more dark in them and the ones that have more light in them are more muted than the original pure color. But yeah, no, it is handy. Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
It's Marge. I was just wondering if you could zoom in on that, your little color study.
Sure.
I feel like I'm seeing a lot of it, but not all the
Yeah, no,
subtleties.
I'll do that right now. Okay.
It looks great.
Yes.
Okay. Just give me just a second here to
Yeah.
zoom in. There we go. I got it. Okay. Of course I can't. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that may have been more helpful to have the whole big thing when I was doing it. I didn't think of that.
No, I mean, it was good the way you did it, but I can see the little violet that you put in there better, and
Yeah, yeah.
just some of the subtle ones.
And you know what? This is what I love about these little color studies. Again, this is just crap paper, it's just construction paper. That's gonna like fall apart in 5 years, is the little layers of colors you can still get when you work on construction paper.
Yeah.
You know, or any paper. You just the problem with printer paper is you really, it's just everything starts to fall off. So I found this and I thought, oh my God, I used to use this for color studies. I love it when it's like, oh geez, yeah, it was packed away very nicely. But lovely little variations that are in there.
Great, thank
Okay,
you.
let's make it, and I'll just show you what, it's not exactly the same, but this is for two different things, same exact plan. But this board that you've probably seen me kicking around for different demos, okay? I've got some tissue paper that had a floral pattern on it, and that has taken the place of the light areas, okay? And the orange has taken the place of the dark, and I'm going to be going over that with, I wanted the orange to show through the white tissue paper, that has flowers on it, and these dark areas are going to wind up being India ink that is that indigo, no, it's the purple lake, it's purplish color. I might mix it with a little bit of the India, I mean, with the indigo, I'm not sure, I have to test out the colors that I want to have in here.
Betsy, can you move that to the left?
Oh, yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Thank
Look
you.
at that.
So you can see this is where all the light was.
So that's your textured paper that you put together for this painting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I want to try it a couple of, I must admit, I do like that. I don't necessarily have both of them turn out the way I want, but I like doing one on textured and one on regular. So this one's small. I'm planning on doing this one a little bit bigger, the one on pastel paper. And this is the regular old board that I use. And it has pumice ground and India ink on it. But because I decided to do the tissue, I'm going to have to put another coat of pumice ground on it, because otherwise the pastel will not stick to the board.
Betsy, it's Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Hi. I really appreciate you talking out loud as you worked on creating that study. It was fascinating to see how you worked. You were asking yourself questions. You were, let's try this color, let's try that. Let's see what happens if we do this and this and this. And I'm fascinated. I was fascinated to listen and watch how you did that. So thank you for doing your open studio today. It was
Oh,
wonderful
thank you. Oh, yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yes,
and learned a lot.
a technique about talking out loud. I've never had a problem talking, so talk. You know what it is when I've been to demos, I really do appreciate, and I know not everybody does it, and it's not saying it's not a good demo, I can still enjoy it, but I must admit I appreciate it when an artist is doing a demo, and at least for some of the time, they're telling us what they're thinking,
Right.
because that's the process we can see what they pick up,
Mhm.
but I want to know, why did they pick up that pastel, or why did they put something someplace? And I know you can't do it the whole entire thing, but you know, it is very nice listening to other artists. So, you know, I try to emulate that myself and just kind of share what it is I am thinking.
I learned a lot listening to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
What I really appreciated is it feels doable and approachable and not as scary as a great big piece of paper. And, even I don't have a lot of pastels, but yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And you could do this same thing with other mediums. I mean, I know gouache, you could probably do it quite easily. Watercolor, you probably have to, you know, be a little bit more circumspect about which colors go down first and all that other jazz. Acrylic, any of these little color study things. And you know, and even if you don't have you know, pastels, colored pencils. Truthfully, the problem with colored pencils is it's that tiny little tip that you wind up doing a lot of coloring. Now, that for me, that's why I say would be a problem for me, because I would just be like, you know, I just want to do it quick. I don't want to wait
Yeah.
for that pastel, for that pencil to color something in. I
Whoosh.
just want to,
Yeah.
yes, I want to just make a mark and be done with it. But it is, you can do it, all different sorts of materials. And you're right, it's not threatening because there's no other reason for doing this than to play around with color. And guess
And
what?
to learn.
If
Yeah.
I did this today and said, sorry, I went through all this, but I'm not really crazy about it, that's just the outcome. That's the way it goes. I need to readjust and figure out what colors. And when I do the real thing, I'll probably get in there and there'll be adjustments that I'll make when I'm actually painting. But, it's just a, jumping off point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Helpful.
Very good.
Thanks, Betsy.
Okay, so I'm planning on doing a paint along, and that'll be in a couple weeks. I'll send out a notice on that. Let's see what else is going on. A week from, not this weekend, next weekend, there's a beginners workshop down at Falmouth Arts Center, 2 half-days. And then in the long run, in May, I'll be doing a nocturne, painting the night workshop for the Cape Cod Art Association. So I've got a variety of things going on, some sooner, some later.
Great.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Betsy.
bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.